Coach Joe's math. Okay. Now we're talking about multiplying rational numbers. Well, remember, what's the definition of a rational number? What? Yeah. Any number that can be written as a fraction. So if I say I want to multiply rational numbers, it would be 5 times 4 or something like that, 4 times a half, and that type of thing. But for algebraic purposes, we're going to be multiplying all fractions right now. Okay? So let's look at these. So multiplying rational numbers are the title of your notes. So we have 3/4 times 1/2. Pretty straightforward. We multiply numerator times numerator and denominator times denominator. We can't cross cancel because they don't have any common factors. So we go 3 times 1 is 3, and we get 3/8. Now for right now, we're multiplying rational numbers. We're going to not look at these expressions. I'm going to let you use an equal sign just because I want you worrying about that, not about, is this an expression, is this an equation? These are expressions, but I'm going to let you use an equal sign in this case. Okay, let's look at this one. 5/8 times 16/25. Well, you know what? We could say 5 times 16 is 80, and 8 times 25, I don't want to fool with that. Well, it's 8/4. We could do that, couldn't we? It'd be 200. But I don't want to do that. I want to get to the answer as quickly as possible. So I want you to, and you're going to need it when we do variables, you want to do cross-canceling. So diagonally, anything diagonally or up and down that has a common factor you can cancel. You should be familiar with this. If you're not, you need to come in and see me so we can have a couple extra practice in the morning before our next class. So 8 and 16, what's the greatest common factor they have in common? 8. So 8 divided by 8 is 1, and 16 divided by 8 is 2. Does that kind of bring back memory? And then we have 5 and 25. The greatest common factor between 5 and 25 is, yes, 5. So 5 divided by 5 is 1, and 25 divided by 5 is 5. Then we go numerator to numerator. 1 times 2 is 2, and that's 2/5. Now we look at this. Here's the deal. We don't know what x and y are. We have no idea. They're variables that represent numbers. We don't know what they are. But we treat them as numbers because we know that they're different because there's 2 different variables. Key thing I just said. When you have an x and a y in the same problem, they're completely different numbers. They have to be. That's why they use 2 different variables. They don't say x and they're 2 different numbers. You can't do that. All right. So first of all, we look to see if we have anything in common factors. Well, no, 5 and x have nothing in common because we don't know what x is. We have no clue. This is an expression. It's not an equation. X has not been defined. Same thing for y. Y and 2 have nothing in common. So what are we left to do? Remember, with multiplication, you can combine anything. You can combine anything. You cannot leave it like this, and you cannot leave it with parentheses. So x times 2 is not x2 because we don't write, you could put that, but people are going to look at you and go, you don't know how to do math because 2 becomes the coefficient of x. And coefficients are written in the front of the variable. So x times 2 becomes 2x. And likewise, y times 5 is, 5y. So it's 2x over 5y. That's the answer. I can't do anything else. If you put parentheses in here, shame, 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 shame. No, that's not simplified because you're saying you still have to multiply. Well, what is 2 times x? 2x. So you can't leave it with parentheses. You have to write 2x over 5y, or I will count off. Yes, I will. I mean. Okay, now let's look at this one. We have 2x over 3y. That's a fraction. We have no idea what x and y are. And then we have 6 over 5x. Well, the first thing we're going to do is we compare the coefficients. So let's look this way. Between the 2 and the 5, do they have any common factors? Absolutely not. Please tell me you said no. Right, they stay the same. Now let's look at the 3 and the 6. They have a common factor. The greatest common factor is 3. So we say 3 divided by 3 is 1, and 6 divided by 3 is 2. Now let's look. From this denominator to this numerator, this one also has a y. Does this one have a y? No. Remember, y stands for a number. We don't know what it is, but we know if there's another y that's opposite and diagonal or above and below, we can cancel it, right? So, now look at this. X, we got the 2 and the 5 don't have anything in common, but the x's do. They're the same number. So they have a common factor, right? So if I put x over 1 times x times x. There's one x here. How many x's are here? 2. We don't know what x is, but we know there's 2 of them here and 1 of them here. That would cancel. That would cancel. We'd be left with 1 times 1 is 1 over x. So, what cancels here? The x's. And they go away because any number divided by itself is 1. So that goes for variables too. So the answer then would be 2 times 2, which is 4. And then y times 5. No, it's not y5. It's, yes, 5y. So our answer is 4 over 5y. So variables, we just kind of roll them in there and we treat them the same. Let's see what happens, though, when we have a couple other things. All right, so sometimes my students get, I wanted to go over this because sometimes my students get confused about negative numbers. Treat it the same way. You just can't forget about the negative. So we're going to compare across from each other, numerator to denominator, or up and down. We could go, what's the zinc common factor in 9/12? But you know what? You can do that. You can simplify that to negative 3/4 if you like. But I like to cut to the chase. That's just me. But I don't care what you do. You can cancel any way you want. But this is 1, and 12 divided by 2 is 6. We don't subtract, we divide. Inverse of multiplication is division, and so forth. So 3 goes into 9, negative 3 times. Be careful. That's where students forget the negative. Now we look. Is there anything else we can simplify? Yeah. 3 over 6. We get negative 1 over 2. Good? So negative 1 times 1 is negative 1 over 2. That's our answer. Now look at this one. 4xy over 7a times a over 8x. I'm going to compare the coefficients first. So between 4 and 8, the greatest common factor is 4. So 4 divided by 4 is 1, and 8 divided by 4 is 2. Now, 7, and this is a 1 here. If there's no coefficient with the variable, there's a 1 there. But I can't cancel that. It doesn't make any sense. Greatest common factor is 1. Okay, whoopee. 1 divided by 1 is 1, and 7 divided by 7. 7 divided by 1 is still 7. So we're not going to do anything. But let's look at this. There's an A here and an A here. That's a common factor. We don't know what A is, but we know it's a common factor. So we're going to cancel the A's. It's like having 2 here and 2 here. You're going to cancel them. And that's what's left here. A divided by A is what number? It's not nothing or 0. It's 1. Very good. So we're going to put a 1 there so we don't forget. All right, so now let's look. X, Y, and X. This is multiplication of X and Y. However, X, we don't know what it is, and we don't know what Y is, but when we put them together, we'll get a number. We don't know what that number is, but we know that X is a factor and Y is a factor. And here's an X, and here's an X. So what's the common factor? X. So we cancel out the X's. Now what's left? Okay, we got Y times 1. See that? There's nothing left there but Y times 1, which is 1. Now you could put 1Y if you like. And then 7 times 2. 14. And then look. There's nothing else there. So my answer is Y over 14. Done. See? You just got to get used to it. It's a little different. You got to remind yourself about what the variables are. Okay, this one gets a little tricky. What does 5 square mean? It doesn't mean 5 times 2. It's an exponent that tells you how many times to multiply the base. It means 5 times 5. Yeah? Okay. So if 5 squared means 5 times 5, what does x squared mean? X times x. What does x cubed mean? X times x times x. Why is that important? Because you got to multiply these fractions with exponents. All right? All right. So I would suggest rewriting this as a right now. And what is b squared? B times b over 4. And then we have 8 over a squared, which is, yes, a times b. That way we can see it. That's a bb and that's a b. B. Okay, so now let's look. I'm going to look at my coefficients. These are just 1s. I'm okay there. But 4 goes into 8 2 times and 1 itself. But now here's the tricky part. Remember, a and b are factors of some number. So wherever there's an a, diagonally, it's the same factor and we can cancel it. It's like if I had 6 8s, what do they have in common? What factor? 2. So we're going to simplify it to 3/4 because 6 and 8 share a 2. Well, what does this ABB and AAB share? It shares 1a. We're going to scratch that out. And it shares 1b. See that? Those are the factors. If we knew what a and b were, we would have the number and then we would just cancel the factors like 6 8s. But we don't know what they are, so we have to use what we know to find out what we don't know as far as we can. Like that? Yeah. So b times 2, remember we canceled that out, is not b2, it's 2b. And then we have 1 times a, which is a. We can't do anything else. I can't cancel the a and the b because I don't know what they are and they're different. Good? Good. Now, I want you to try these. That's a mark. Okay? So pause the video, and when you're done, come back. Welcome back. Let's see how you did. Okay. So, well, the first one you should have gotten -6 over 33, and I did not do what? Oh my goodness, I did not simplify. So I lose a half a point. Shame on Mrs. Cohen. So we get -2 over 11ths. That's the answer. Just checking you. All right, number 2, you have to change mixed numbers into improper fractions. But because they gave you mixed numbers, your final answer has to be in a mixed number. You always look at what the form of the number is to know how to write the answer. So we converted it to improper fractions, simplified it, and then put it back into a mixed number. So it's -9 3/7. How about this one? There was nothing to cancel. So that was 3a over 5b. Number 4, there was lots to cancel, and your final answer should have been a over 6. And then the final one, I hope you wrote y times y, and then you saw that they had 1y in common. So the final answer was 3y over 2. Oh, I got to go do my exercises right now. I got a tough workout tonight. I'm going to get drenched. That's the work that I'm doing tonight. So, write down 2 things you learned and 1 question, either on a note card, index card, or a sticky note. Okay? And I will see you in class. Write down your notes. If you have trouble with the cross-canceling, come in and see me before school tomorrow. Have a good one. I'll see you later.